Long ago, in the land of Canaan, there lived a man named Jacob, who was also called Israel. He had many sons, but among them all, he loved one most dearly, Joseph, the son of his old age, born to him by Rachel, his beloved wife. Joseph was a bright and kind young man, full of dreams and promise. His father's affection for him was so great that he made him a special robe, a coat of many colors, woven beautifully and unlike any other garment in the family. Whenever Joseph walked through the fields or sat with his brothers, the colorful robe gleamed in the sunlight, a sign of his father's deep love. But Joseph's brothers noticed this love and began to feel a heavy jealousy growing in their hearts. They could see that their father favored Joseph, and it made them angry and bitter. They no longer spoke kindly to him. Yet Joseph, innocent and full of youthful joy, did not realize how much his brothers' hearts were turning against him. One night, Joseph had a strange and vivid dream. In his dream, he and his brothers were out in the field binding sheaves of grain. Suddenly, Joseph's sheaf rose upright, and the others gathered around and bowed down to it. The next morning, Joseph eagerly shared his dream with his brothers, not knowing how it would stir their jealousy even more. "Listen to my dream," he said with excitement. "We were binding sheaves in the field, and my sheaf rose up and stood upright, while all your sheaves gathered around and bowed down to mine." His brothers stared at him angrily. "Do you really think you will rule over us? Will you actually have authority over us?" they said, scoffing. Their hatred for him deepened, and they began to despise him even more for his words. Later, Joseph had another dream. This one was even more astonishing. "I had another dream," he told his family. "This time, the sun, the moon, and 11 stars were bowing down to me." His father, Jacob, rebuked him gently. "What is this dream you had? Shall I, your mother, and your brothers indeed come and bow down to you?" But deep inside, Jacob pondered the meaning of these dreams. He wondered if there might be something divine about them. Days passed, and the tension in the family continued to grow. Joseph's brothers were often sent to graze their father's flocks far from home, near Shechem. One day, Jacob called Joseph and said, "Go, I want you to check on your brothers and the flocks and bring me word of how they are doing." Joseph obeyed his father and set off on the long journey, his colorful robe fluttering in the wind. When he arrived at Shechem, Joseph could not find his brothers right away. A man noticed him wandering in the fields and asked, "What are you looking for?" Joseph replied, "I'm looking for my brothers. Can you tell me where they are grazing their flocks?" The man said, "They have moved on from here. I heard them say they are going to Dothan." So Joseph went after them. From a distance, the brothers saw him approaching. His bright robe made him easy to recognize. They muttered among themselves, "Here comes that dreamer." Hatred filled their hearts. "Come now," one said darkly, "let's kill him and throw him into one of these pits. We'll say that a wild animal devoured him. Then we'll see what becomes of his dreams." But Reuben, the eldest brother, tried to stop them. "No, let's not shed blood," he said. "Throw him into this pit here in the wilderness, but don't lay a hand on him." Reuben secretly planned to rescue Joseph later and bring him back to their father. When Joseph finally reached them, smiling and unaware of their cruel plans, they grabbed him roughly. They tore off his beautiful robe, the symbol of his father's love, and threw him into a dry pit. The ground was hard, and there was no water in it. Joseph cried out to them, but their hearts were hardened. Then they sat down to eat their meal as if nothing had happened. While they were eating, they looked up and saw a caravan approaching in the distance. It was a group of Ishmaelite traders coming from Gilead, their camels loaded with spices, balm, and myrrh, on their way to Egypt. Judah, one of the brothers, had an idea. "What will we gain if we kill our brother and cover up his blood?" he said. "Come, let's sell him to these Ishmaelites. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood." The others agreed. When the traders came by, the brothers pulled Joseph out of the pit. Joseph was terrified, pleading for mercy, but they handed him over to the merchants for 20 pieces of silver. The traders tied Joseph's hands and led him away toward Egypt, his eyes filled with tears and confusion, wondering why his own brothers had betrayed him. Later, Reuben returned to the pit, planning to rescue Joseph. But when he looked inside, Joseph was gone. In despair, he tore his clothes and cried out, "The boy is gone! What shall I do now?" The brothers then took Joseph's colorful robe, killed a young goat, and dipped the robe in its blood. They brought it to their father and said, "We found this. Look and see if it is your son's robe." Jacob recognized it immediately. "It is my son's robe," he cried. "A wild animal has devoured him. Joseph has surely been torn to pieces." Overcome with grief, Jacob tore his clothes, put on sackcloth, and mourned for his son for many days. His family tried to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted, saying, "I will continue to mourn until I join my son in the grave." So Jacob wept deeply for Joseph. Meanwhile, far away in Egypt, the traders sold Joseph to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh and the captain of the guard. Though Joseph's heart was heavy with sorrow and confusion, God was still with him. This painful journey would soon become the beginning of something greater, a path that would lead him from slavery to power, from betrayal to forgiveness, and from despair to divine purpose. Sparkle's moral lesson. The story of Joseph teaches us that even when people treat us unfairly, God has a plan. Betrayal, pain, or loss cannot stop God's purpose from being fulfilled. What seems like a tragedy today may become the stepping stone to a greater blessing tomorrow.